Also from my side, a very warm welcome to this 5th Ad Filtering Developer Summit. In this nice city, nice venue, it's so good to meet in person again. We had our first coffee together, and for some of you, it feels, I think, like a little class reunion. Many of you know each other, and I think it's really cool to have these 2 days in person here together. And we have a really packed agenda, interesting speakers. I'm really excited about these 2 days. This is the 5th summit, and for me, this is my first one, so I'm the newbie. And at first, I would like to thank you. To thank you for trying to give me my advertising experience back. You know, when I was a child, I loved television commercials. These fixed breaks between 2 shows with the commercials on television. They were predictable, you know, now you have a break, one spot after another. They don't interfere with the show, with the storytelling at all. You could use this break to grab a glass of water, go to the toilet, have a snack. And sometimes there were really cool spots, very cool spots. My favorite one was the one with Levi's. You remember this guy lay down in the bath tube with his jeans on? This was a kind of inspiring for me. I did this after. I also lay down in the bath tube with my jeans on. So this was cool, television advertising. Also the political commercials. Do you remember this? In Germany, it was fixed time slot right before the news, 8 p.m. in the evening, with this information, now it comes political advertisement, pay attention, we are not responsible for the content of this ad. So it was quite clear. But then the private television stations came up and something's changed. So this is always something I realized when I was a child. Now, every 15 minutes, there was this break of advertisement interfering the storyline. We saw animations in the right corner. It was disturbing. It was annoying. Every time these advertisements in the private television. But even for the public television and for the private television, there were rules, restrictions. In Germany, so-called Rundfunkstaatsvertrag. They were fixed. It was clear how much ads, the content of ads. We had rules in these days. And of course, when I was older, it was clear these private television stations, they need monetization because they don't get this support from the state like the public television. So I understood that. And then the web came up. No rules, no restrictions. We all know what happened. So much advertising. It was so annoying. It was so much stuff. It was like a wild, wild west. Everything was allowed. We were in a kind of legal vacuum. And then the users fought back. We all know this story. Can you fix it? Thank you. Can you hear me? Perfect. Ad blocking came up, our rescue. And then, of course, the idea of ad filtering, to let the good ads through, to bringing together the user needs, good advertising experience, with the monetization opportunity for publishers and content creators. At the moment, we have 37% of all users worldwide using a kind of ad filtering approach. A small sidestep, at eyeo, in the last few weeks and months, we worked really hard on our report, The Global State of Ad Filtering. There you can find all figures and key facts and trends. And after me, my colleague Katrin will present you this report. So what does this tell us all? Advertising is not bad per se. On the contrary, it's absolutely legitimate. to really have advertising for products to sell them, but of course the mood can quickly tip. And when I talk about ad filtering, of course I also mean trackers, all the bad stuff. So ad filtering, tracker filtering, content filtering, we use these terms equally. And it's all about cleaning up the web. And how do we do this? This is really fascinating. This was one of my biggest surprises when I started at eyeo, that we use these filter lists and filter rules and regular expressions to identify the requests, and then we can block ads. These filter lists are really quite flexible. That's cool, good news. But on the other side, they are error-prone, hard to maintain, and most importantly, easy to circumvent. And when I think about ad filtering, I always have this picture in my head of the non-profit organization Clean Up Ocean. I don't know if you know this. This is really impressive. This organization, they build boats, kind of trawlers, and they're shipping through our oceans with nets and special equipment and collect garbage, trash, plastic out of the ocean the whole time. The ocean is quite big, and there comes more and more garbage, and they collect this garbage, and then you have mountains of this garbage, and you can recycle it. This is so impressive, but it's a kind of mammoth task. And always, I think, when we talk about ad filtering, they clean up and clean up and clean up, and we filter and filter and filter the web, collecting all this trash out of our web. And it's obvious we need automation. This is one of the most important topics when we talk about ad filtering. And we know there are some interesting approaches on the table around machine learning. We will hear also at this conference about this. But what should we automatically collect? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? What is trash? And what is no trash? This is a complex task. Normally we talk about the user experience, so we have bad ad formats and we don't like animation, and that's all about user experience. And also when we only talk about user experience, to detect, to distinguish technically ads from content is really not easy. It's really complex. But another question, we have a standard, but what about asking the question, what is acceptable for me? What is acceptable for you? Does it make sense to have one dedicated common standard? Or does it even make more sense to ask the question, what is acceptable for user segments or for individuals? And of course, privacy, our really important topic for the last years. How can users be served with relevant ads that interest them, doesn't annoy them, without violating their privacy when we share their data to third parties? And of course, we always talk about the idea of giving the control back to the user. And I think that sounds so cool, doesn't it? Giving the control back. But on the other side, these solutions also can overwhelm the user. When we think about the consent layers, we hate consent layers and we click OK because it's too time-consuming to understand all the information which are behind this dialogue. So when we talk about an active choice for the user, I guess it's not a smart solution that will win. And then about, of course, the content of ads. We normally talk about user experience, privacy, security. But when it comes to the content of ads, and we know sometimes for the user it's not easy to distinguish on the side what is yet now content and what is ad. And we know the more negative emotions we have, the more engagement, the more clicks do we have. And what impact does that have on the consumption of misinformation? What impact does this have on our society and our political systems? So to sum it up, ads will not go away. They do fund the web, that's for sure. There is a good advertising experience, but there are many open, relevant questions. And I'm sure in the next 2 days we won't answer all these questions, but I am sure we will have relevant, interesting discussions. We will talk about relevant ideas and approaches to shape a better web. And I wish us all great 2 days. Thanks a lot.